Good evening, you're watching NTV Tonight, and here are the headlines.
Tales of suffering. Patients bear the brunt as nurses strike paralyzes health services in the counties.
Also tonight, the bitter butter.
Practically impossible for any regulator world over to supervise production on day-to-day basis.
Consumer Federation calls for strengthening of food and drug safety measures.
Also, Matiang'i takes charge. Interior CS chairs first cabinet committee meeting as MP moves to check him.
And Kenyan football on trial.
I met Wilson at Safari Park Hotel in the company of ex-Football Kenya Limited by then officials.
Details of how authorities and players colluded with match fixers to influence results.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on this news broadcast. Our sign language presenter tonight is Flora Atieno.
The nurses' strike in the counties entered its second day today. Even as authorities engage in talks and court proceedings to end the strike, Kenyans continue to bear the brunt of the national health crisis.
Patients in most hospitals were left unattended as medical services have been suspended. Charity Mwangi reports of the tales of suffering patients across the affected counties.
Most hospitals in Kenya were ghost towns with thousands of patients stranded. But those whose medical needs tie them to the facilities, they felt what they termed as neglect by the caregivers. At the Kapenguria County Hospital, Francis Lokotor's one-week admission has come to a quick end despite still needing care. Emergency transfer services were also unavailable, which left the sick and their relatives to look for alternatives.
Wakatuambia kila kitu yuko sawa, lakini sasa huduma ndio hakuna sababu nurses hawako. So hakuna venye tutasaidiwa, hakuna venye mgonjwa atapelekwa pale kwa ward. So tukaambiwa kama mnaweza, tunaweza warifa muende wapi, Eldoret.
If they don't return to work within 24 hours, we will be forced to employ other nurses and we will sack them and employ others because as a county, we don't have any extra money.
At the Mama Lucy Hospital in Nairobi, Musa Mohammed, the medical superintendent, says that there are members of his staff who are on strike, but the hospital had set coping measures that he says has kept the hospital operational.
So for Nairobi County, actually, to me, there shouldn't have been a strike because most of those things that are being addressed, are being put, Nairobi County has already addressed them.
The smooth traffic here at Mama Lucy Hospital is an indication that they seem to be managing the situation, albeit the ongoing nurses' strike. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
And that report by Charity Mwangi forms our opinion account question tonight. We ask, do you think the nurses union should suspend the strike and give dialogue a chance? Head to our Twitter page on @NTV Kenya and our handles @Burrows and @Dennis Okari and tell us your yes or no answers. You can also SMS us on 20686 and we'll sample some of your views during the program. Now, joining me in studio is the Kakamega Governor and also the chair of the Council of Governors, Wycliffe Oparanya. Yes. You secured orders today, yes. Suspending the nurses' strike for 60 days.
Yes.
So what prompted your move to court?
When we got the notice, we tried to approach the union so that we are able to discuss, but they were not willing. And the CS in charge of labor called a meeting last week on Friday, which we all attended, and we tried to convince the union that they should suspend the strike so that we can negotiate but they could not agree to our suggestion, and therefore we decided to go to court as Council of Governors today, and I'm happy that we have got a court order suspending the strike for 60 days so that we are able to discuss. Okay. And it should be known that what we are actually discussing is allowances and not salary. Just there are two allowances that
the uniform and the service
the
allowance.
Uniform and the service allowance.
Which leads me to my second question. Where has there been a delay in implementation when already we have 3 counties that have implemented?
The issue is that the capacities of counties vary from one county to the other. There are others who might be able to pay, there are others who are unable to pay. For example, if I can use my own county, I will need 45 million to pay for that particular 2 allowances for this year, and that is bound to increase the next 2 years. And just having to get 45 million now, it will not be possible. You remember the first allowance, we were supported by the national government. When the salaries were increased, the doctor's salaries were increased, they gave us an allocation for 6 months. And then promised that CRA now would make a provision for the other balance, which was not done. And then we were also to get approval from SRC, approval for all these allowances, an approval that has not come. So this is an expenditure that as counties we need approval from SRC so that we are able to implement.
But wasn't this approval received back in November when the agreement was reached?
No, but for these allowances, it was not received, and I can tell you that even this morning we met the chair of SRC, and this is still a pending issue.
Okay. Now, the position of the Kenya National Union of Nurses is that they will negotiate with specific counties because these are the particular employers, not the COG as a whole. And that is one of the issues they also have with this conciliation committee.
We had a meeting last week with all the governors, and the governors have agreed that it will not be possible for the union members to meet each county individually, and they have given us the go-ahead as Council of Governors to negotiate on their behalf. And I have minutes, some have written letters of that to prove that we have been mandated, and that's why we have been attending this meeting as a representative of the Council of Governors.
But some counties seem to be having talks outside of that process that includes the COG, because Nairobi County, for example, this today secured a suspension of the strike.
Even me, I have been doing it at my local level, convincing my own nurses that they should not go on strike because we are looking into this issue, knowing that actually this issue has been taken by the Council of Governors. And we have also allowed all other governors to do the same so that they are able to deal with local situations as we discuss at the national level.
Okay, finally, this is not the first sort of industrial action that has been taken by the medics in the course of devolution. Do you think it was perhaps premature to devolve the health function?
I can tell you, as counties, we have tried our best. And even if you know the history of this problem, it comes from even before devolution. This particular issue of discussing with the nurses started in 2016. And it was actually coming from the period even before devolution. And that's why the national government was able to commit themselves to support us for the 6 months. Otherwise, they wouldn't have supported us. So this is a problem that has accumulated. And after this, maybe, that is the time that we would have taken up the issue. But I can assure you that as counties, we have done our best to make sure that there's a lot of improvement in the health sector.
Okay, thank you very much, Governor. If you'd like more with the Governor, he will be on sidebar tonight, yes, together with Ken Mijungu, and this is just one of the issues into which they will delve.
need to rethink kwa nini tulitaka ugatuzi.
We have not let the governors down during our tenure.
We need to bite the bullet and revisit the structure of devolution.
There will be no discussion on how to fold counties.
If it becomes necessary to disagree, let us disagree without poisoning the environment for Kenya's progress.
The idea of devolution was to make life different at the world level. Now it is business as usual.
I'm looking forward to that particular conversation. Now, just a reminder of our opinion count question tonight. We asked, do you think the nurses union should suspend the strike and give dialogue a chance? Again, our handles are at NTV Kenya, at Burrows, and at Dennis Okari. You can also text us on 20686. Let's take a look at some figures now. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the Economic Survey of 2018, there are 79,239 nurses practicing in the country. And breaking down this number even further, only 6% of that hold a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing at 4,819. A further 65% are registered nurses at 51,420, and 23,000, constituting 29%, are enrolled nurses. Now, you might ask, what's the difference between an enrolled nurse and a registered nurse? In Kenya, training institutions in nursing may offer programs at 3 levels, that is certificate, diploma, and degree level. Both the Bachelor of Science in Nursing and diploma programs produce registered nurses, whereas the certificate programs produce the enrolled nurses. Now, what do these numbers mean for the nurse to patient ratio? It means that there are 10 BSc holding nurses for every 100,000 people, 112 registered nurses per 100,000 people, and 50 enrolled nurses per 100,000 people. Now, finally, what is the World Health Organization recommendation on the healthcare worker to population ratio? That figure is 250 to 100,000, and that 250 encompasses doctors, nurses, and midwives. The Consumer Federation of Kenya now wants the government to centralize all agencies that deal with food safety in the country to guard against contamination of food. The Federation's concerns come as 3 more brands of peanut butter that have been sold to the public were found to have been highly contaminated with aflatoxins. Brenda Wanga reports.
Hardly a week after the Director of Public Health ordered the recall of Nutty's peanut butter from the market, 3 more brands of the same produce have also been recalled. Aside from Nutty's, Clover's Nuts Smooth, Clover's Nuts Chocolate and Mother Nature peanut butter brands will not be available for sale, at least for now.
In this case, because the failure is of a critical nature, the instruction is that we withdraw the products that are in the market, and then with them now, they need to give us a plan of rectifying their production processes to ensure that they bring back the production to the norms that are set with the standards.
The recall of the 4 brands stemming from a common problem. All of them have higher than permissible levels of aflatoxin that, if consumed by human, could cause health problems, including liver damage. According to Kenya Bureau of Standards, the tests conducted on the 4 brands indicate one source of problem.
When you have a scenario, you have one product with various companies, that basically now is an indicator that the problem could be resting with the raw material, the quality of the raw material that is being used, in which case now the raw peanuts that are being used to make the peanut butter. And that is why I say that we work with the factories, because we do not just stop at suspension.
KEBS says its decision to remove the products from the market is informed by its mandate of safeguarding the public from consuming harmful products. The same KEBS is charged with ensuring that the products in the market are of acceptable quality. The organization has distanced itself from blame over allowing the now suspect goods onto the market, bearing its mark of quality, yet they were defective.
It's practically impossible for any regulator world over to supervise production on day-to-day basis.
But that explanation is not holding water with the Consumer Federation of Kenya, which says the lack of clarity over the enforcement of standards of quality is now a major concern for Kenyan consumers.
Our fear actually is that The fear of the unknown, the fear of unknown is more serious than what is known.
The Federation is now calling on the government to consolidate all agencies that deal with the quality of consumables under one roof, named the Food and Drugs Authority, that will be responsible for ensuring that what is consumed is good for the public. The Kenya Bureau of Standards maintains that the 4 affected brands of peanut butter will not be allowed back onto the market until the manufacturers prove that they are following the laid-down regulations that will ensure that quality is guaranteed, and only that will KEBS allow them to use that mark of quality. Brenda Wanga, NTSA, Nairobi.
From poisoned butter to poisoned rice, the judiciary has defended its decision to release 10 million kilograms of rice into the market, despite claims that part of the rice was poisonous. The court said the issue of whether the rice was poisonous or not was not a matter brought before court for determination. So, did the court order the release of food unfit for human consumption into the market as alleged, or is it just a case of a misunderstanding of the ruling as claimed by the judiciary? Silas Apollo reports.
A week after the High Court sitting in Mombasa ordered the release of some 10 million kilograms of rice held by the government on account of being unfit for human consumption, the judiciary has come out to defend that decision. The statement is in response to accusations that the order issued by Justice Eric Ogola gave the importer of the said rice a window to flood the market with poisonous commodity. But the courts have fought back, terming the claims as false, fabricated and twisted to portray it in bad light. The judiciary says that the matter before the court was never on the poisonous rice, but rather that about 20% of the consignment did not meet the size standard set by the government. The matter was taken to court after the government refused to allow the release of the rice 3 months ago, even after both parties agreed on the terms. The judiciary says that in the submissions, parties agreed that indeed even the rice which was alleged not to meet the size actually had minimal size variations. The rice, which is estimated to be worth 250 million shillings, had been held at a Mombasa warehouse after it was found unfit for human consumption. Justice Ogola ruled in favor of the petitioner and asked the Kenya Bureau of Standards to pay Phoenix Global Kenya 15 million shillings as damages. KEBS was asked to ascertain whether the white substance meet the requirement of any grade of rice, the percentage of moisture in the rice, if the rice was contaminated with minerals, and whether the rice was fit for human consumption. The matter comes at a time when the government has stepped up the war against counterfeits, which it says has been costing it losses running into billions of shillings in the form of revenues. Some of the counterfeits, like food products, have also been termed as health hazards. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Traders forged documents to irregularly purchase maize from the National Cereals and Produce Depot in Eldoret.
A prosecution witness who was examined in the NCPB maize scandal told the court that the suspects altered the documents to make millions of shillings at the expense of genuine farmers. NTV's Setholale with that report.
Prosecution witness John Karaoke, a food security officer in the State Department of Agriculture, demonstrated to the court how traders used fake documents with unverified number of bags of maize at the expense of vetted and registered farmers.
There is no other details, especially on the name of the NCPB officer or the signature of that officer is blank.
Now, when you look at that document and MFI 32, is there a difference, or is it one and the same document?
Your Honor, it also lacks the land registration number.
And did it originate from the State Department of Agriculture?
Your Honor, this is not what came from the Ministry of Agriculture.
One of the forged purchase forms addressed to the NCPB Eldoret Depot indicates that one Celestine Chepchirchir from Moiben had 20,000 bags of maize. However, the form does not show the name of the authorizing agriculture officer. In addition, the document lacks the name and signature of approving NCPB officer and the land registration number.
The intention of this form was to ensure the genuine farmer benefits from the good price the government was offering.
Another forged maize purchase form reveals a trader by the name Stephen K. Kimayo from Uasin Gishu with 6,000 bags. The document was signed by an agriculture officer only identified as Ross and Moses Kibet as the area chief, bearing a stamp dated 20th November 2017. The prosecution is using officers in strategic positions, especially in government ministries as well as agencies. 2 of the witnesses have already been cross-examined, with 11 others waiting to be cross-examined by both parties involved in this particular case. Seth Olale, NTV, Milimani Locots.
Now, today, a video shared widely online went viral and has become a top trend on Twitter. With the hashtag #ReleaseNjeri, the video shows traffic police officers ejecting a woman from a matatu during the morning rush hour and captures the voices of passengers defending her.
Njeri wa Mudhoni, who was recording the incident, later posted on her Facebook page that she was arrested for recording the video and taken to Kasarani police station. Were the police being obstructed from discharging their duties, or is this assault and an attempt to cover up?
We would love to hear your thoughts, and you can all use our Twitter handle at NTV Kenya or at Dennis Okari or at Burrows, and we'll read your views before the end of this news broadcast.
Karibu tu. It's alright, mbona mnamshukisha? It's alright. Sawa.
We look forward to hearing your views on that particular clip. Now we take a break, but we'll be back shortly. you for staying with NTV tonight. The Kenya National Union of Nurses insists the strike will continue unless the county governments honor the pledge of paying nurses the nursing service allowance and the uniform allowance.
In a statement, the Council of Governors stated that the court has suspended the nurses' strike for 60 days to allow conciliation, something which the chairman of the Council of Governors, Wycliffe Oparanya, just confirmed to us in this news broadcast.
The nurses insist that the return to work agreement was breached by the national and county governments. On Monday, 18 counties had issued a strike notice, nurses downing their tools and paralyzing services in public health facilities. By Tuesday close of business, a total of 8 counties had suspended the strike that began on Monday, following discussions between the county government and the nurses union branch officials. Nyandarua County was among the counties that suspended the industrial action.
And we have agreed that the allowances are going to be paid in March this year, and we are going to sign an agreement on the same, and after signing the agreement with the blessings of our General Secretary, Mr. Panyako, then we are requesting all nurses in the county to go back on duty immediately.
Has directed implementation of the return to work agreement signed by the county government, national government and the Kenya National Union of Nurses on November 2nd, 2017, alongside salaries for March 2019. All nurses of Nyandarua County are therefore hereby advised to continue rendering service to the good people of this county and its environs.
The county entered into an agreement to process the outstanding payment for financial year 2018-2019, and on top of that, implement uniform allowances for nurses, which sum up to 15,000 Kenya shillings per year, and nursing service allowances that sums up to 23,000 Kenya shillings per year, among others. Kiambu, Kitui and Nyeri also called off the strike on Monday. Nairobi County government announced that it had reached an agreement with the nurses late Tuesday. The nurses' umbrella body has insisted that it will not take part in the conciliation talks.
In any conciliation, whose aim is to revisit the issue of nursing service allowance and uniform allowance. Those are issues that were absolutely completed, properly executed, and they are not subject for negotiation or for conciliation. All that we want is for the specific employers to ensure that they implement this agreement. And implementation cannot be done at the national level. It must be done with the employers. So the Ministry of Health must employ for the national government employees, including spinal injury, including Mathare National Hospital, Blood Bank, Port Health, etc., etc.
Homa Bay and Marsabit counties were set to start their strike on Wednesday. Nurses working in health facilities under the national government's Ministry of Health gave a strike notice of 11th of February. Kwale, Garissa, Samburu, Kirinyaga and Embu counties' health services in public facilities were scheduled to be paralyzed on the same date. Eunice Omolo, NTV, Nairobi.
Interior and Coordination of National Government CS Fred Matiang'i this morning chaired the Development, Implementation and Communication Committee meeting.
This was the first of many such meetings that seek to ensure the Jubilee dream of the Big Four agenda is realized without the glitches of financial misappropriation that have hit the administration in the past.
But even as he takes up his new responsibilities, some in the political class are now seeking to oversight his oversight responsibilities within government in a move that might be seen as a means to tame his newly acquired powers.
Tuesday, February 5th, 2019 would be the very first cabinet committee meeting that brings together the entire cabinet except the president and his deputy. Interior CS Fred Matiang'i taking up his chairman role, leading his cabinet colleagues in trying to figure out why government projects have in the past faced a myriad of challenges, with corruption leading to the near collapse of many. On a weekly basis, Dr. Matiang'i and his Deputy Chair Finance CS Henry Rotich are expected to report back to the President on how quickly the projects under the Big Four agenda are moving. The committee will also be expected to share the same information with the public. It was a full house at the Harambee House meeting, held amid claims of some cabinet secretaries had not taken too well the President's decision, placing Matiang'i above them.
Hata leo nimekuwa na baraza ya waziri na nimewaambia, wewe kama huko tayari kufanyia wananchi kazi na jukumu lako ni siasa, piga about turn. Vijana niko nao wengi ambao wako tayari kufanya kazi.
It was clear that the CSS had taken these remarks by the president very seriously. His anger coming after reports of some cabinet secretaries expressing dissatisfaction with the Presidential Executive Order No. 1 of 2019, which gave Matiang'i extra responsibilities to oversee and provide a supervisory leadership role throughout the delivery cycle of all national government programs and projects. Deputy President William Ruto, around whom those seemingly opposed to Matiang'i's elevation seem to gravitate, has voiced his support for the initiative.
Tumekubaliana jameni? Sisi wote tumekubaliana siasa kando. Kazi mbele.
On his part, Jubilee legislator Moses Kuria seeks to have a special committee formed to oversight Matiang'i's expanded responsibilities. The move has been dismissed as self-seeking by the National Assembly leadership. While many saw the order as a means of clipping Deputy President William Ruto's wings, the head of state has made it clear that the committee's main aim is to ensure efficient delivery of services to Kenyans. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Kenyan football is in the dock. A FIFA preliminary investigation on former Harambee Stars player George Wise Owino details a match-fixing scandal that implicates the national football team alongside a Singaporean international football match fixer, and that has implications on Nigeria's Super Eagles qualification to the 2010 FIFA World Cup.
This comes barely a week after Kakamega Homeboys head coach Paul Nkate was shown the door due to allegations of match fixing in the Kenyan Premier League. Aida Waringa with more.
This 2010 FIFA World Cup qualifier played on the 11th of October 2009, in which Harambee Stars lost 1-0 to Tunisia, is one of the 14 matches that former Harambee Stars defender George Wise Owino is reported to have fixed under the instructions of international match fixer Wilson Raj Perumal. A 16th of September email from Perumal to Owino and addressed to two other players named as Pascal and Julius reads, "Note, if you lose by 1-0 to Tunisia, you will end up with nothing. I want a 3-0 scoreline. I expect the score to be 2-0 in the normal game, but with your assistant, I can get a 3-0 scoreline." To which Owino replied on 17th of September 2010, "Don't worry, we will do the job because we need the cash." On 3rd of October, Perumal wrote to Owino stating, "My man will carry $25,000 for you, $25,000 for Pascal, $25,000 for Julius, and the new player will get $15,000. To which Owino replied on 3rd of October 2010, "Listen, my friend, we are serious and ready for the business. We promise we won't let you down. Trust us." The duo had started conversations regarding money a year earlier, with Perumal emailing Owino on 18th July 2009 asking for confirmation regarding $500 sent. "Did you receive the money?" he asked, to which Owino replied on the same day stating, "Yes, thank you very much and may you be blessed." Also adding on the next day, "Hi, I got the cash, I'm very grateful." All this is captured in a 10-page FIFA preliminary investigation report obtained and first published by Nation Sport. Based on the report, FIFA has opened investigation proceedings against Owino for potential breaches of the Articles 13, 17 and 27 of the 2018 FIFA Code of Ethics, as well as the corresponding provisions of the 2012 FIFA Code of Ethics and the 2009 FIFA Code of Ethics. Speaking to NTV Sport on phone, Football Kenya Federation CEO Robert Muthomi stated that,
"I was the first to be contacted by FIFA. I then contacted the player George Owino and the club Mathare United. With issues before FIFA's Ethics Committee as FKF, we are not allowed to talk. We are dealing with local match-fixing allegations. For international AFCON World Cup qualifiers match-fixing and FIFA deals, his club first suspended him, then his contract lapsed."
NTV Sport also managed to speak on condition of anonymity to someone who was part of KFF in the duration under investigation, who shed further light on the scandal.
I met Wilson around 2009 at Safari Park Hotel in the company of ex-Football Kenya Limited by then officials. In particular, I would mention the match between Harambee Stars and Nigeria, Kasarani, the World Cup qualifier. And you would really have not thought about the match being fixed, but indications were there right from the beginning, from the previous night, the pre-match meeting.
Owino last played for Mathare United and he previously played for Sofapaka, Tusker FC, St. George in Ethiopia, as well as Yanga and Simba in Tanzania. He is said to have been approached by Perumal to fix games with the promise of money and a potential move to an unnamed Australian team. It has to be confidential. The purpose I'm going to bring you here is for business, but you have to remain loyal to me only. Salary each month is $30,000. If I say lose, you do as I say, or else you won't see your own salary. Perumal, also known as the most notorious match fixer in the world, is a convicted Singaporean match fixer. According to the FIFA Code of Ethics Article 13, receiving money to influence a game has a fine of 10,000 Swiss francs as well as a maximum 2-year ban, while not reporting attempts to match fix is under Article 17 and it has a similar penalty to Article 13, and bribery is under Article 27 and it attracts a fine of 100,000 Swiss francs as well as a 5-year ban.
In 2004, Kenya Cricket Association banned high-flying cricketer Maurice Odumbe due to match fixing. In 2018, Kenyan referee Aiden Marwa was implicated in a continental match fixing ring. Come January 2019, an immediate former Kakamega Homeboys coach Paul Nkata was accused of match rigging. Just a week later, FIFA implicates former Harambee Stars defender George Owino. Clearly, the conversation surrounding integrity in sports is one that needs to be had. For NTV, I'm Ida Warenga.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has publicly apologized for the corruption scandals involving double registration of motor vehicles by crooked officials at the National Transport and Safety Authority.
An angry Matiang'i is nonetheless not feeling sorry for corrupt officials, saying the law will be applied ruthlessly. NTV's Mel Miendo with those details.
Late last month, Flying Squad, Anti-Terrorism Police Unit and DCI detectives raided NTSA offices in Upper Hill, Nairobi. Over 30 officials were taken in for questioning. 6 were arrested and taken to court. 3 out of the 6 are senior managers at NTSA. Of interest to the detectives was the double registration of motor vehicles and issuance of similar number plates. This followed the terror attack at 14 Riverside Complex. The car used to ferry the terrorists was a Toyota Ractis KCN 340E. A car with similar license plates was to be found in Kitengela. This, it turned out, was just a tip of the iceberg in what is turning out to be a major motor vehicles number plates syndicate perpetrated by officials at NTSA. The state agency, which was previously under the Ministry of Transport, was moved to the Interior Ministry late January 2019. And now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i is sorry for the mess at the Transport Agency.
The buck stops here. I take responsibility as the Cabinet Secretary for Interior. I am sorry for what happened in relation to the double registration of a motor vehicle. But I do not intend to apologize again. I do not make excuses for responsibilities that have been given to us.
The CS says the exercise to clean up NTSA will be widened and it will be a multi-agency operation.
We will go about this exercise with very little mercy, where laws have been broken and where things have been done in a manner in which they are not supposed to be done. Let's be honest, people, and let us live a life of integrity.
Already a restructuring of NTSA is underway with the replacement of the entire board of management. The new board members are John Obocha, Catherine Waweru, Alice Chesire, Francis Mwongo and Meshak Kidenda. Only Moses Gashemi has been retained from the previous board. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Well, 20 minutes to the top of the hour, and up next is business. We take a short break. We'll be right back.
He was not born a star.
You are just in time for your daily look at the world of business. And financial analysts at Ganges Capital believe that the interest rate cap will not be reviewed anytime this year, despite the economic downside of the law that came into effect in 2016. That prediction is based on the belief that there is absolutely no motivation for parliamentarians to push for a repeal. Here's Alex Mwangi with the details.
Ganges Capital projects that the economy will grow by 6% this year on the back of continued growth in agriculture and services, coupled with a stable macroeconomic environment. Some of the headwinds that the government is likely to face, according to financial analysts at the investment firm, include raising capital from the sovereign market and the effects of the interest rate cap, which is likely to remain unchanged.
I think we'll still raise the sovereign bond. Pricing is maybe challenging. I expect it to be a bit higher. Rates have gone up in the US, so obviously you're starting off a much higher base.
That has been a concern for us, the low private sector credit growth in the year, which unless there's a review or a repeal, in the interest rate cap, we don't see it changing from the levels that we've been at over the course of last year.
The interest rate cap has had an adverse impact on small and medium enterprises, which have seen their share of credit squeezed as banks opt for safer options. For the banks, however, they seem to have turned lemon into lemonade.
The thing is, most of these banks have been able to ride that wave. Even with the introduction of the rate cap, they've been able to find different ways and adopt different strategies to grow their businesses. Most of the banks in our coverage actually returned good growth last year. However, we have to take note of the fact that provisions went down, and this is because of IFRS 9.
The financial analysts at Genghis say that the massive foreign investor outflow from the Nairobi Securities Exchange over the last 2 years presents a perfect opportunity to invest in stocks. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
On to some relief for the aviation sector, and the planned strike by Kenya Aviation Workers Union has been suspended. This follows intervention of the government promising workers that none of them will be laid off in the public-private partnership proposed between Kenya Airways and Kenya Airports Authority. Lillian Kiarie with more details.
The strike, which had been called to protest against KQ's plan to take over management of JKIA, was set to paralyze operations at the busy airport, with flight attendants, ground staff, cargo operators and other support staff in duty-free shops threatening to down their tools. But a promise by the government that the takeover will not risk their jobs led to the union making this pronouncement.
We agree to suspend the strike notice, not to call off. We suspend it in good faith so that we give KAA and all other players an opportunity to have a new start, to engage in good faith, because at the end of the day, we are all working for the good of Kenya.
The government said that it fully supports the concession, as it will only create synergies between KAA and the national carrier, boosting the airport and airline to be more profitable.
And the government of the Republic of Kenya does not foresee any redundancy despite what has been reported in the media. It is expected the staff numbers will grow from the current 950 currently to over 3,000 during the concession period.
The CS, however, said the details of the JKIA and KQ agreement have not been made public yet.
We will not stunt the growth of either party. Instead, it aims at traffic growth for both companies and enhancing the status of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to a super hub status.
KAU also laid the issues affecting the aviation industry bare, accusing KQ of having a strong appetite for cheap labor.
The posture of a number of employers within the industry today do not encourage engagement, and KAA is one of those.
The government has said that no other regional airports will be affected by this, as this concession is only specific to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and does not apply to any other airport which is currently being managed by the Kenya Airports Authority. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
Elsewhere, curbing wastage and widening the tax base are two issues that featured prominently as the pre-budget hearings for the financial year 2019-2020 kicked off today. The convening body, the Institute of Economic Affairs, says it is not enough for the government to increase budgetary allocation to particular sectors without commensurate increase in monitoring the utilization and impact of the same among the most vulnerable. On its part, the East Africa Tax Governance Network, EATGN, called for exploration of new avenues for mobilization of tax revenue with a view to cushion existing taxpayers from a rising burden. The public fora are aimed at seeking proposals from various stakeholders ahead of the tabling of the national budget in June this year.
The spending on agriculture in Kenya, which is completely wasteful.
I'm talking here some of the subsidies that are given to fertilizers, whether it's the subsidies that are given to sugar industry. So maybe one of the ways we actually need to focus this debate is actually to talk about the wastage that takes place. So it's not just about pumping money into the agriculture sector.
We have to start discussions on digital taxation. We have had a semblance of this at the Senate with the discussion on the revenue raising bill, the questions of how do we tax companies like Uber, Facebook, WhatsApp, so on and so forth, Twitter.
The operating environment for businesses across the country continued to improve in January 2019, despite posting slightly slower gains than it did in December 2018. According to Stanbic Bank's Purchasing Managers Index, this improvement was driven in part by high demand from foreign players for locally produced products, which saw a reduction in the backlog held by businesses. On the flip side, however, the index points to weak growth in employment opportunities and salaries, even as businesses sought to meet rising demand for products. Nzoia Sugar Company has asked its farmers to prepare to receive their payments this week, following the National Treasury's announcement last week that it has released the funds. Meanwhile, Kenya's Sustainable Blue Economy Project has just been launched in Kilifi County. Here's Victor Kiprop with a wrap of what's happening at the counties.
After more than 3 months of waiting on President Uhuru Kenyatta's directive to the Ministry of Agriculture and that of the National Treasury to pay them their dues in October last year, Ken farmers can finally smile as the money is expected to be deposited into their accounts directly this week. As a result, Nzoia Sugar, which currently owes 17,269 farmers more than 579 million shillings, has asked the farmers to reactivate their accounts in readiness for the payments.
The company truly appreciates every effort the government is making to renew the sugar sector. We are grateful that it's upon this government, His Excellency the President and Deputy President, that the sector is now seen as if it's now changing.
Last week, Deputy President William Ruto announced that at least 2.7 billion shillings would be released directly to sugar farmers in the country in order to avoid mismanagement by sugar mills. Elsewhere, more than 3,000 residents of Media Creek in Kilifi County are said to benefit from the first ever Sustainable Blue Economy Project. The project, which comes just 3 months since Kenya hosted the world's first conference on blue economy in November last year, bringing together about 10,000 delegates from more than 180 countries, is aimed at promoting conservation and addressing climate change effects. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
And up next is the financial report.
NTV Financial Report in association with the University of Nairobi. NTV Financial Report in association with the University. Apply online through applications.uonbi.ac.ke and be the first to secure admission.
Above the 3,000 mark, investors must be delighted, and that's it for business.
Welcome back. Mildred Odira was murdered. The post-mortem confirmed in detail how the Foresight employee seconded to Nation Media Group met her horrific death.
And in a twist of events, her brother Carrington Ogweno says he received threats to his life earlier in the day as he was on his way to the mortuary.
For the better part of the day, Mildred Odira's family camped at the city mortuary. It is their second day at the facility after her body was found there on Monday. Today, a post-mortem was conducted to ascertain the cause of her death. And when the results were out,
the cause of the death was the injury on the forehead, and it looks like consistent with being hit by a sharp object. Which could even be a hammer or something. So it looks like somebody hit her with a hammer, and after she was dead, she was thrown then on the road, or placed on the road, so that vehicles ran over her, that it appears that she was involved in an accident. She has severe injuries, mainly on the torso. All her organs are destroyed.
Now there is another development to this unfortunate case. Carrington Ogweno, who is Mildred's brother, claims that two men trailed him to his home yesterday, and they did not stop at that. In the morning, they actually warned him.
At around 7, I opened my gate and I found two guys on a motorcycle. So they told me, you drop Mildred's case or you follow your sister. So I was waiting for them to drop off, then I may take the registration number. Only to realize it was blank, there was no registration number. So I thought it wise to go and report to the police station, which I did, to Tassia police station. But with these all threats, I'm not moved. If Mildred's case will take me to the ground, I'm ready. Yeah, so be it. Yeah, it is so painful. Mtu anachinja mtoto wenu kama Mildred, then again coming to threaten you. I won't take that lightly.
Mildred went missing last Tuesday. She was last seen getting into a taxi from her home in Kariobangi South Estate. She had been unwell and needed to go to hospital. Her body was found on the very day by police officers who took it to City Mortuary. But her family knew of her death a week later. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Time now for sports with Waro the Kiro after this.
TV Sport. I am Warothe Kiru. More questions than answers surrounded the National Sevens rugby team upon its arrival from the Sydney and Hamilton legs of the World Sevens Series on Tuesday afternoon. Shujaa picked up only 1 point in Australia to add to the 7 won in New Zealand the week before to leave the squad in 13th place and flirting with relegation. Sean Cardovillis reports.
The National Sevens rugby team is back home, having registered a mixed performance in its tour of Australia and New Zealand. Shujaa lost 17-20 to Invitational and non-core side Tonga in the 13th place semi-final of the Sydney Sevens to bag a solitary point. In the Hamilton leg in New Zealand, Paul Murunga's Chargers showed signs of promise before losing in the Challenge Trophy final to England, earning 7 points. After 4 legs, the inexperienced team has 12 points and lies 13th.
It's a bit challenging because at the first tournament, of course, we had some players that we had already done some work with them, then they dropped out. So it's like we started afresh in Hamilton and Sydney. So in terms of player profile, I think, and team profile, it was almost a new side again.
I think the tour was good for the team. It was a bit of up and down for both the two tournaments. Hamilton was kind of good to the team because we managed to amass a few points and maybe beat a few big world teams. Then Sydney was like a slump.
With the senior players still not training with the squad due to a squabble over allowances with the Kenya Rugby Union, a similar team to the one that arrived on Tuesday will go to the Vancouver and Vegas Sevens in a couple of weeks' time. This is due to visa processing rules for North America.
For sure, as a coach, I've already said it's beyond me. As much as I would like senior players to play, if they're not available and they're not playing, then I'll still coach whoever guys that I have.
With the KRU election set for next month, the feeling amongst rugby stakeholders is that major changes need to be seen at the board level for confidence to return to the game. As long as sponsors shy away, then the same problems will continue to follow the team season after season. Kenya, Wales and Japan head to the Vancouver and Las Vegas Sevens in March as early relegation candidates. So it was an extremely difficult tour of New Zealand and Australia, and it's back to the drawing board for the Kenya Sevens team for the North American tour. Sean Cardovillis, NTV at the JKIA.
On to football, and Western steamer coach Paul Okari is the Fidelity Insurance Coach of the Month for December after a poll conducted by the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya SJAC football panel. Okari beat stiff competition from Mathare United's Francis Kimanzi to become the first winner of the accolade in the 2018-2019 season. Okari guided Steamer to earn in 3 wins and a draw to finish December top of the KPL log. Okari secured 14 votes, with Kimanzi scooping 7 of the total votes cast by the football journalists. Okari is a success story, having guided Steamer to finish in first in the 2018 National Super League, thus earning direct promotion to the top flight. He previously coached Palos, Agrochemicals and Kisumu All-Stars. Two-time world 5,000 meters silver medalist Sylvia Kibet has urged athletes to invest economically ahead of their retirement from athletics. Kibet, who is also a marathoner in her heydays, today commissioned Bellio Highway Petrol Station, an investment she has begun in partnership with her husband. Among those who graced the event were Elgeyo Marakwet County Governor Alex Tolgos, who asked all athletes from Iten, quote, the home of champions, to invest in Elgeyo Marakwet County. Thousands of athletes, including foreign athletes, train in Iten because of its high altitude, which is conducive for training.
I'm preparing for my retirement, and I encourage my fellow athletes to follow our steps. When you get something small, you do something, because in future you will not run forever. You will have to come home, and you should have something to earn for living.
We want to encourage them to continue investing in Elgeyo Marakwet. And what we are going to do what we'll always do as Elgeyo Marakwet County is to create a good enabling environment for the investors.
And we wrap up sports on just a bit of information about Jose Mourinho. And former Real Madrid manager Jose Mourinho has been found guilty of tax fraud, but he evades going to prison because in Spain, any sentence, which is less than 2 years, you can pay a fine and get away with it. So he's paid a fine of 20 million Kenya shillings, and he gets away from going to jail. That's your sport. More updates tomorrow. Have a lovely night.
And that's it for us as well. My name is Olive Burrows.
My name is Dennis Okari. A sign language presenter tonight was Flora Atieno. Without any further ado, Sidebar is up next.
The same Tasha mwenye anachekanga kafisi.
Shia cha matusi.
Si matusi, don't nasema ukweli.
I made the mistake of listening to rumors. Come on, stop crying. I believe you.
May I kindly see what you uncovered in your hair-raising surveillance operation?
I already told you it's none of your business. Now get the hell away from me. Or else...
What else what?
Leave me alone, you're hurting me.
Living in a trap house.
Get an 1/8 acre for 1.25 million shillings, a 1/4 acre for 1.8 million shillings cash. Book with 50% and pay the balance in monthly installments. SMS Beach Plot to 22120.
Nothing broke my heart as much as that, as the kids begging you to go back home.
Our culture places a lot of emphasis on marriage. So if you're breaking